Hi, welcome to this edition of OnTap, presented by FCSI the Americas. I'm Wade Kaler, Executive Director. On tap this week, I have the past president of FCSI World Wide, the past chairman of FCSI the Americas, and a member of many FCSI committees and task forces. He's one of my favorite food service consultants when it comes to having a travel companion and a cruise ship expert. Please welcome today, Mr. Jim Petersen. Hey, Jim, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, Wade?
I'm doing great, man. It's so good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
I mentioned the cruise ship expert. I know that you and your wife, and I hate to date these podcasts, but just went on a worldwide cruise ship. So congratulations. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but
okay, it wasn't worldwide, but it was pretty. Yeah. It was 18 days, so it was pretty long.
Close enough for me.
Yeah.
I've never been on one, so I won't even do a 3-dayer. So 18 days is worldwide for me.
You need to do it.
Jim, as we normally do, I like to start these off with a basic, the old adage, how did you get your start? But truly, people want to know more about you, and that is, how did you get your start in food service consulting? What was your background like, and then actually becoming a consultant?
Sure. It's in my family.
Okay.
My father and my uncle both went to a hotel school at Cornell. Okay. As did I. My grandfather had a meatpacking company in New York City called Petersen Owens, and my dad and uncle worked for him around the time that they were starting their families. My dad then started working for a company called HFM, which is Hospital Food Management.
Okay.
We lived in South Jersey at that point, and then he was hired by Automatic Retailers of America to start a hospital operations division. Automatic Retailers of America became ARA. He eventually got involved with their initial stadium operations, and then his division became AraServe, and then that all morphed into AraMark.
Oh, wow.
And when I was a freshman in college, he decided he'd had enough. Not that he decided he had enough, but he was called to become an Episcopal priest. So my freshman year of high school, suddenly there was no money available. Or not freshman year of college, rather. But I went to the hotel school. I was interested in architecture. I had some drafting courses back in the day. We did it by hand. I had applied to some architectural schools, but I also applied to the hotel school, and I sort of crafted my courses based on doing hotel design, specifically front office design, because I had some practical experience in that. And when it came time to start looking for jobs, the hotel architect said, yeah, we don't really need that. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And then somebody said, have you ever thought about, food service design? I go, oh, yeah, I guess somebody has to do that. So John C.i.i. happened to be up in Ithaca. I had an interview with him, and then started working with C.i.i. Grissom when I graduated, which was in January of '74. Okay. I was with C.i.i.'s office for 4.5 or 5 years, moved to Detroit, and actually worked for a dealer for about 18 months. Okay. I wanted to get some different experience. And then in late 1979, basically, that job didn't really work out. So I started out on my own late '79.
Wow.
So, yeah, basically, I started working then, and I'm still doing that.
Congratulations. That's a great longevity career for, especially a consultant. That's a long career. Regardless of what industry you're in, to be a consultant for that long is kudos to the man running the show, you, because that's not easy to do.
Right. That whole time, I've basically worked for myself. I don't know if anybody else would want me working for them, and I don't react well to people telling me what to do, except my clients, obviously. They tell me what to do. So it's actually been pretty low stress. I don't work a zillion hours a week. I don't make as much money as other consultants might make, but there's a lot of lifestyle benefits that I'm happy to have.
Yeah. Are there certain specialties or segments in the industry that you currently keep in those lanes, or are you kind of like anybody that likes to get their hands into everything?
What I do primarily is I do a lot of schools. I do some hospital and healthcare work. I do some correctional facilities, some military facilities. Basically, for whatever reason, it has sort of developed into working for non-taxable or for institutions that are funded by taxes.
Okay.
Which means that I don't do a lot of deep pocket projects. Most of mine are, pretty straightforward, and most of them are schools. It just happens that my biggest architectural client specializes in schools.
Okay.
Right now, I've got 7 for them that are supposed to be out before the holidays. So.
Wow.
Things are busy, but I'm working on a healthcare facility, smaller healthcare facilities like community hospitals and 200 beds or less, that sort of thing. But I would do other stuff if the opportunity came up. I've had the opportunity to do a minor league stadium through liaisons with other consultants. So I have branched out a little bit in terms of experience. I've never done any casinos. I've never done any cruise ships, although I do the tours whenever I can, so I can take it off on my taxes. Actually, it hasn't worked yet, but I'm still talking with the feds when they send me letters. I go, no, really, I looked at their kitchen.
Yeah.
So there's some segments I haven't gotten into. I enjoy correctional projects because they're usually, a lot more to get your arms around and a lot more challenging, a lot more interesting in terms of. Correctional facilities all seem to operate separately. They come in size from small county jails to, I did a cook chill facility for the state of Michigan that did 30,000 meals a day.
Wow. Okay.
Every correctional facility is different in terms of the way they operate. So it's, and I make a little more money on those, which is nice.
You and I have talked about this before, and I always love hearing some of the things, but we don't have to go through a lot of it, but what are a couple of the things that you have to do differently for a correctional facility, especially those kitchens that the inmates actually work in? What are some things that you have to think of differently than you normally would for a school or something like that?
We need to, security is the big thing.
Right.
So we need to accommodate what they want to do. And the biggest, I guess the weakest link in security is receiving and waste removal. So we've gotten into some fairly interesting situations where the dry storage and the walk-in refrigerator freezer were actually part of the Sallyport system. Sallyport, I think a lot of people may not know what that is, but that's basically you walk into one gate, that gate shuts, and then another gate opens and you go through that. So sort of like an airlock. So there's that, and then there's the inmates themselves. We've done like high security facilities where people who have tools basically are segregated into their own room. So, because they still have to use knives and, and sharp objects. So, the big thing is security, really.
Yeah.
Segregating, if you have large facilities, you don't want large storage facilities, you don't want the inmates to have access to all that. So we usually go with sort of an ingredient room or sort of a sub-storage facility that only holds 1 or 2 days in it.
What is there in all the projects you've worked on, schools, correctionals, and everybody else? Is there any one that stands out more than the others as maybe either most like your favorite or the most challenging? Either way,
the most challenging ones are sometimes like the smaller ones, like. I do some church projects. Yeah. And it's truly, designed by committee and that can be frustrating. The biggest one I've done was at the correctional facility I mentioned that did 30,000 meals a day. In the early 80s, I did some military facilities out of the country. So I was in Saudi Arabia 3 times and an island called Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. I was out there twice. And interestingly, each time I went out there, I flew in a different direction, so I've flown around the world twice each way. So,
nice.
Yeah.
What who would you say, or what is your greatest influence in your professional life?
I think my experience at Senior Grissom and the people I met there, specifically Harry Schildkraut, who was basically 4 years ahead of me. He graduated from Cornell also. Some of the other folks that were there that I've lost track of or are no longer in the industry.
Yeah.
And then I've met a lot of people through FCSI. I didn't really do any effective networking until I got involved on the board, about the time that we we're rearranging things.
Yeah.
2010 and thereabouts. Other influences more recently, I mentioned that I've done some work for friends who are consultants, where they've needed rough-in drawings done or field work done, and in doing that, I've seen a lot of how other consultants do what they do.
Yeah.
So actually, it's been in the last 5 or 6 years when I've sort of gotten deeper into understanding AutoCAD.
Okay.
And how it works for a big project as opposed to a small project, and organizing files and sort of mundane things like that. But I've got a lot more efficient in the past few years just by not talking with other people, but actually working with other people.
Nice. That was one of my questions. You just fed into it. You'd think I pre-fed you these questions, and for those,
I know that's number 6, right?
yeah, I say for those people that don't know, and you can attest, Jim is one of the most honest guys I know. OnTap, I do not give any questions to anybody before any of these interviews. They're completely off the cuff, essentially, if you will. I don't want people to be prepared for these, so.
Yeah, I looked at a few of the previous ones. Just
you kind of cheated a little bit. That's okay.
I should back out or not.
What's one thing about Jim Petersen that no one would ever guess?
I saw that you asked that on a previous interview, or at least one. Probably that I'm listed in IMDb for a couple of really, really bad movies I was involved with in the 90s.
Nice. So, that is awesome. Yeah. Don't tell anybody. They can go out and find them on their own. We'll let them. We'll let it hang out there. Let people go search.
Well, yeah. Look, it'll be under my name. If there's more than one, I'm in Lapeer. And then you can read the reviews of the movies I did.
Very good.
They're pretty funny.
So you and your amazing wife, Kathy, have taken quite a few cruises over the years. I know you both are kind of connoisseurs of that. Is there a particular cruise over the years that sticks out as one of your favorites?
We did a cruise to Hawaii, where it left from San Francisco, so it was a lot of sea days. An Alaska cruise that we did was real nice. The last 2 cruises we've done have been repositioning cruises.
Oh, okay.
So we had one booked for Australia for 2020, but you know how things went. So in 2019, we took a cruise that started in Copenhagen, which is where my grandfather was born, coincidentally, and made a number of stops. And that was a 19-day cruise that ended up in New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
And then the cruise we were just on started in Athens and then went around the eastern part of the Mediterranean through the Suez Canal and ended up in Dubai.
Oh, wow. So, very cool.
But we prefer not mega ships.
Okay.
We were on the one, the transatlantic one was a huge ship with about 4,000 passengers on it.
Okay.
The one we were just on was the same cruise line, but they only booked it 60% full because of COVID. Okay. And there were a couple days when there were excursions that everybody took. So there were like 300 people on the ship designed for 2,100. We'd go into a lounge, there'd be 4 bartenders and 2 servers and us. So service was great.
That's awesome. That's a VIP service without VIP prices.
Right. And we upgraded our cabin for like very cheap. So
nice. What is one piece of advice you give to anyone thinking of becoming a food service consultant in today's world? I
think networking, which is something that I was not very good at intentionally. I sort of got thrown into networking once I got more involved with the association. Networking, I think, sort of people think about, oh yeah, you go shake hands, you talk with people and stuff, and I'm not thinking about networking like at receptions and that sort of stuff, but actually, getting deeper with people and finding an opportunity, especially a lot of the firms in our industry are so busy. They really need additional help. And if somebody is, competent enough that they can, take direction from somebody else, and do that, they will become, I think better at what they do. Plus it sort of spreads their name out, because most of the consultants that I've dealt with are very nice people. And they're happy to share, like references, hey, do you know anybody who can do this? Well, check with Jim. He's been doing some stuff. His office was slow. So that's I guess the biggest thing that I see late in my career, as I think back to the early parts of my career, I had 7 years of experience before I went out on my own, but there was still a lot that I've learned, and I still learn something with every project I do.
I think that's great advice, and I've said that to a couple younger people here recently of that have called. Once in a while we'll get these calls at headquarters about, thinking about becoming a consultant, and I completely agree, and I tell them, you don't have to be busy. You don't have to have a big book of business to get started right now. If you have the ability to listen and work with others, there are plenty of food service consulting firms out there right now that are looking for additional help, that aren't really willing right now to hire anybody particularly, but they'll definitely subcontract work out to you. And I think what you just said is really key, and that is, not only are you getting some business out of it, but you're actually getting the experience of how they operate in their consulting business, which then may or may not lead you to either running your business better, or maybe you'll decide that, hey, I really like working with this firm more so than any other firms, and it might lead you to a full-time job down the road with that firm because you know that you like their flow of work, you like the atmosphere that they create, or whatever it may be, the culture, or just could be the owner. It doesn't even matter why, but lead something down the road. So I think that's great advice. What have you've been involved in so many committees, task forces, boards, leading up to your presidency in FCSI. What have you learned about FCSI and learned about yourself throughout this process?
I found that most of the people in FCSI are, pretty straightforward and nice people. If your only exposure to them is, at receptions or sitting next to them at a seminar, you don't really get to know them very well. But the more I've gotten to know them, I can't really think of any that I wouldn't be happy to work with. I was on the board for a couple of years back in the 80s, and just the way that the group was structured then, it wasn't, didn't really amount to a whole lot in the end. But once I started getting involved in some of the inner workings of FCSI, I met a lot of these people that I'd seen forever, and I'm going, man, I wish I'd known him or her, like this 10 years ago. I mean, they're great to talk to. They laugh at my jokes. Go figure.
So one of the things that you say, you say you're socially awkward, but you and I have traveled together many years and been involved in a lot of meetings together. I find that hard to believe because I never saw that side of you. So to you, I think your self-image sometimes of your networking abilities and what others see is different because. You're right, though. Kathy, when she's around you, your wife is, one of the most amazing personalities and fun to be around people. So you don't have to try very hard when she's around. Well, Jim, that's all the questions I've got on the formal side. But as you know, in past seasons of OnTap so far, I like to end on a fun side. So I've got a set of would you rather questions that we'll dive into here, if you'll indulge me and my sometimes juvenile humor. So the first one is, would you rather have the ability to move things with your mind or the ability to read minds?
Move things with my mind.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to know what other people are thinking. That could get really crazy.
Would you rather be forced to sing along or be forced to dance to every single song you hear?
Sing.
Would you rather be chronically underdressed or overdressed?
I am chronically underdressed, so... I put on a special shirt just for this. Usually it's like a T-shirt or sweatshirt or something.
So did I. We're good. Would you rather have universal respect or unlimited power?
Universal respect.
Would you rather never be able to go outside during the day or never be able to go outside during the night?
If I had to give up daytime or nighttime, I would probably give up being able to go outside at night.
Would you rather lounge by the pool or lounge by the beach?
Neither. I don't do much sun. I'd rather lounge in the lounge.
Would you rather wear the same socks for a month or the same underwear for a week?
Again, we go back to the chronically underdressed thing. Wow. I wouldn't have to worry about working alone if I did either of those things. I guess if I had to do one, I would go without the socks for a while.
Okay. Would you rather spend a week in the forest or a night in a haunted house?
Week in a forest.
Would you rather get a paper cut every time you turn a page or bite your tongue every time you take a bite?
Probably a paper cut every time I turn a page, because I don't read as much as I used to, but I still eat a lot. So
okay.
Overall, I think that I'd be better off with the paper cuts.
Would you rather sip aviation gin with Ryan Reynolds or shoot tequila with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
I'd probably rather hang out with The Rock.
Okay.
It seems like a lot more fun.
Would you rather have skin that changes color based on your emotions or tattoos that appear all over your body showing what you did yesterday?
I guess the tattoos.
Would you rather be beautiful and stupid or unattractive and a genius?
I'm already beautiful and stupid.
Very good.
I guess I'd want to see how the other half lives.
All right. Would you rather only eat pizza for a year or not be able to eat pizza for 5 years?
Oh, I'd rather eat pizza for a year.
Would you rather give up cursing forever or give up desserts for 5 years?
I guess I'd say I'd rather give up cursing, which is another side of me that I try to keep out of my professional life. But I'm involved with the fire department, so it's sort of like hanging out with a bunch of sailors.
Yeah, exactly. And the last one would be, would you rather go backstage with your favorite band or be an extra on your favorite TV show?
I'd rather go backstage with my favorite band. I've done the movie thing, and yeah, the band, definitely. I think the treats are better with the band.
Perfect. Well, that's all the time we've got today. Jim, how can people find out more information about you and your firm?
I have a website. It's CIIFSD.com.
Okay.
Contact information is there. It's got a number of pages on background, projects, that sort of thing. So always happy to hear from potential clients or people who've seen me or seen my information. They don't really know what a food service consultant is. So one time somebody asked me up or called me up and asked me if it was okay to put venison on a pizza. But they just at least I usually point people in the right direction.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very enticing. I suppose people do it, but that doesn't sound very enticing to me.
This is Michigan, so
that's a good point. Plenty of deer hunting up there. Same in Illinois where I live. So. Well, hey, that wraps up this edition of OnTap presented by FCSI the Americas. A huge thank you to Jim Petersen for joining us today. We can't do shows like this without you. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any future episodes. But until then, cheers.